The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador Bella Chen walked through the crystalline doors, her boots clicking against the polished obsidian floor. Around her, representatives from 47 different species watched with varying degrees of curiosity and contempt. The humans were the newest addition to the galactic community, having achieved faster-than-light travel only 3 decades prior, a mere blink in cosmic time. Bella had prepared for this moment her entire career. 20 years of diplomatic training, countless simulations, and briefings from Earth's best strategists had led her here. But nothing could have truly prepared her for the sheer weight of contempt she felt radiating from the assembled aliens. "The human delegation may approach," announced the Council Arbiter, a towering crystalline being known as a Vexler. Its voice resonated through the chamber like wind chimes in a hurricane. Bella stepped forward, her aide Leo Martinez close behind. Leo carried the data cores containing Earth's formal petition for protected trade routes through the Orion Arm. It was a simple request, one that had been granted to every other species without question. But the humans had learned quickly that in galactic politics, nothing was simple. "Honored Council," Bella began, her voice steady despite the predatory gazes fixed upon her. "Humanity comes before you today to—" "Silence," commanded High Inquisitor Zirakoth, a reptilian creature from the Drazen Confederacy. His scales shimmered with an oily purple sheen as he rose from his seat. "You will speak when spoken to, primitive." Leo's jaw tightened, but Bella remained composed. She had dealt with worse during her tenure on Mars Colony, where oxygen deprivation made people far more hostile than any alien could manage. Zirakoth continued, "The Council has reviewed your request. We find it presumptuous. Your species has been space-faring for barely a generation. You possess no significant military power, no economic leverage, and no cultural contributions worthy of note. Why should we grant you anything?" Around the chamber, various aliens chittered, clicked, and hummed in what Bella recognized as agreement. The Galactic Council operated on a principle as old as civilization itself: might makes right. "With respect, High Inquisitor," Bella replied calmly, "we ask only for the same considerations granted to other emerging civilizations. Safe passage through designated trade lanes. Nothing more." "Safe passage must be earned," interjected Counselor Vresh, an insectoid whose compound eyes reflected Bella's image 1,000 times over. "Perhaps if your species proves its worth, or submits to appropriate taxation for our protection." There it was, the real agenda. The Council wanted humanity to bend the knee to accept tributary status before being granted basic rights. It was a test, Bella realized, one that every species faced, most submitted, those who didn't face economic isolation or worse. Leo leaned forward slightly, whispering near Bella's ear, "The fleet's in position, just say the word." Bella's expression didn't change, but her heart rate spiked. Admiral Sarah Keating and the 3rd Expeditionary Fleet were indeed in position, lurking just beyond the system's heliopause. But Bella had hoped it wouldn't come to this. Humanity's first major galactic interaction, and they were already on the brink of conflict. "The Council awaits your response, human," Zirakoth hissed, his forked tongue tasting the air. "Will you accept our terms? A mere 30% tariff on all trade goods and guaranteed safe passage. Refuse and your ships travel at their own risk." 30%. It was extortion dressed in diplomatic language. Bella had studied the treaties carefully. No other species paid more than 5%, and most paid nothing at all. She looked at Leo, then back at the assembled council. In that moment she made her decision. "No," Bella said simply. The chamber erupted in chaos. Aliens shrieked, roared, and buzzed in disbelief. No species had ever refused the Council's generous offer on their first petition. It simply wasn't done. Zirakoth's eyes narrowed to slits. "You dare refuse the Council? Perhaps you need a demonstration of what happens to those who forget their place." He gestured to the viewing screen that dominated one wall of the chamber. Observe. The screen flickered to life, showing the orbital space around the Council's home planet. Dozens of warships materialized from the darkness, Drazen battlecruisers, Vraeshi hive carriers, and vessels from a dozen other species. They were massive, bristling with weapons that could glass a planet in hours. 300 warships, Zirakoth announced proudly. The Council's enforcement fleet. What does humanity bring to counter this? Your pathetic colony ships, your mining vessels. Leo was grinning now, and Bella had to suppress her own smile. The High Inquisitor had made a critical error. He had assumed humanity's hand was weak because they hadn't yet shown it. Actually, Bella said, pulling out a small communicator, we brought something else entirely. She pressed a button. The viewing screen's perspective suddenly shifted as new sensor contacts began appearing on the display. 1, then 10, then 50, then hundreds. The Council chamber fell deathly silent as human warships dropped out of quantum slip space, surrounding the Council's fleet in a perfect sphere. But it wasn't just the numbers that shocked the assembled aliens. It was the laughter. Broadcasting on all frequencies, the human fleet's communications were open and relaxed. Pilots joked with each other. Ships' crews placed bets on how long the Council fleet would maintain their aggressive posture, and Admiral Keating's voice cut through it all with unmistakable amusement. Ambassador Chen, Admiral Keating here. Sorry we're late to the party. Traffic was murder coming through the Rigel corridor. More laughter echoed across the channel. We've got visual on the Council's fleet. Nice ships. Very shiny. Reminds me of my uncle's vintage car collection. Looks intimidating until you realize they've got no armor where it counts. Zirakoth's scales had gone pale. This is impossible. Our intelligence indicated you had perhaps 24 military vessels at most. Your intelligence was looking at our colonial defense force, Leo said cheerfully, his earlier restraint completely abandoned. These are just the ships we had nearby. The other 8 fleets are currently securing our territorial claims throughout human-explored space. Bella watched the Council's reaction carefully. Fear, confusion, and, most interesting, a growing respect flickered across alien faces. The Vexler Arbiter leaned forward, its crystalline structure refracting light in complex patterns. Explain, it demanded, its musical voice now tinged with genuine curiosity rather than condescension. Gladly, Bella replied. You see, honored Council, you made several assumptions about humanity. You assumed our newness to space meant weakness. You assumed our lack of aggressive expansion meant lack of capability. And most critically, you assumed we thought like you. She gestured to the screen, where human warships had begun executing complex maneuvers around the Council fleet, not aggressive, but clearly demonstrating superior coordination and technology. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years, Bella continued. We've perfected warfare to an art form, not because we enjoy it but because we had no choice. It was evolve or die. When we finally achieved peace among ourselves and reached for the stars, do you think we forgot those lessons? Admiral Keating's voice chimed in again. If it helps, we really don't want to fight. We're having too much fun out here. Jenkins just pulled off a triple-axis rotation through the Drazen formation without triggering a single proximity alarm. New record. The human fleet crews laughed again, and Bella could see the psychological effect it was having. The Council's intimidation tactics relied on fear and hierarchy, but humanity had brought something they'd never encountered, warriors who treated war as a game they'd already mastered, who laughed in the face of threats because they'd survived far worse on their own homeworld. Councillor Vrash's antennae twitched nervously. Your fleet, it's positioned for both defense and offense simultaneously. How? Leo pulled up a holographic display. Adaptive formation protocol. Every ship can switch roles in under 3 seconds. We learned it fighting the Mars insurgency. You ever try coordinating orbital strikes while rebels are hacking your command structure? Makes you real good at multitasking. But the energy signatures, another counselor stammered. Your weapons, they're not standard plasma or kinetic designs. Nope, Bella confirmed. We use a hybrid system, railguns for precision, plasma for area denial, and something we call relativistic kill missiles, for when we really need to make a point. Though personally, I'm partial to the electromagnetic pulse bombs, very effective against ships that rely heavily on centralized AI control. She let that sink in, watching several counselors glance nervously at their own fleet compositions. Zirakoth had recovered some of his composure, though his scales still showed signs of stress. This changes nothing. Even with superior numbers and technology, you cannot hope to fight the entire Galactic Council. We have thousands of worlds, billions of ships in reserve. And we have nothing to lose, Bella interrupted, her voice hard now. That's what you don't understand. Humanity spent centuries tearing itself apart before we finally united. We've faced extinction-level events, nuclear war, climate collapse, asteroid impacts, AI rebellions. We've fought through ice ages and plagues. We survived. We thrived. Do you really think the threat of economic sanctions or even military action scares us? The silence that followed was profound. The Vexler Arbiter spoke, its tone entirely different now. What is it that humanity wants, Ambassador Chen? The same thing we asked for initially, Bella replied, her diplomatic mask sliding back into place. Fair treatment, protected trade routes, recognition as equals, not subjects. We're not here to conquer or dominate. We just refuse to kneel. Admiral Keating's voice came through again, softer now. Ambassador, we've completed our tactical assessment. If you need us to demonstrate our weapon systems, we're ready. Otherwise, we'll maintain position and keep enjoying the view. It really is beautiful out here. Bella smiled. Stand by, Admiral. I think we're making progress. The council members conferred among themselves in various languages and communication methods. Bella had studied enough xenolinguistics to catch fragments, disbelief, recalculation of power dynamics, and underlying it all, a grudging respect. Finally, the Arbiter spoke. The Council recognizes humanity's petition. Trade routes through the Orion Arm will be granted with standard protection protocols. No tariffs beyond the standard 5% maintenance fee. Furthermore, it paused, as if the words were difficult. We invite humanity to establish a permanent embassy and apply for council membership within the standard probationary period. That's very generous, Bella said diplomatically. We accept. As the formal proceedings concluded and documents were signed, Leo leaned close to Bella. Think they learned their lesson? Bella watched Zirakoth slink away, his earlier arrogance completely deflated. Maybe, but it doesn't matter. Today, the galaxy learned something important about humans. What's that? That we don't bluff, and we don't back down. But most importantly, she smiled as Admiral Keating's fleet began their coordinated withdrawal, still broadcasting jokes and laughter across all channels. We fight best when we're not taking things too seriously. The human warships vanished into quantum slip space one by one, their departure as choreographed as a dance. The last thing the council heard before the final ship disappeared was a human voice singing an old Earth song, off-key but enthusiastic. So long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye. Bella and Leo walked out of the council chamber to the sound of bewildered alien chatter. They had come seeking respect through diplomacy. They had left having earned it through strength, and by showing the galaxy that humanity's greatest weapon wasn't their technology or numbers. It was their ability to stare down extinction itself and laugh. Because that's what humans did. They survived, they adapted, and they never ever forgot to enjoy the ride. As their shuttle lifted off from the council planet, Leo looked at the receding city below. So, what's next on the diplomatic agenda? Bella pulled out her data pad, scrolling through upcoming meetings. trade negotiations with the Centauri Commerce Guild, cultural exchange with the Andromeda Archives, and she paused, grinning, teaching the Council's military academy our aggressive negotiation tactics. They want us to teach them how we fight. Apparently, after today's demonstration, everyone wants to know how humanity went from nuclear bombs to quantum drives in less than 2 centuries, and how we kept our sense of humor through it all. Leo laughed. Should we tell them the secret? What, that we're all slightly insane and cope through jokes? Exactly. Bella leaned back in her seat watching the stars streak past. Now, let them figure it out themselves. Besides, it's more fun this way. Behind them, Earth's newest allies and oldest rivals were both learning the same lesson. Never underestimate a species that treats the impossible as merely improbable, that faces the void with laughter, and that considers no to be the start of a negotiation, not the end of one. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage, and they were just getting started.